All right, so I guess we'll resume until she gets back in. So I guess while we're on, why don't we get back into some of our power wrap up and see if we can
Okay.
kind of solidify that once and for all. And just a warning, we have half an hour until we're going to be on with D. So, getting into power, favorite you had some favorite characters in there. I think I think
Hmm.
Jabari was his name. Jabari, is
I
that
don't
his
have
name?
any favorite characters in that show, actually.
Okay, so you loved them all equally.
No,
I think no some
I could take or leave them all. I like the show,
okay
but no particular character stands out for me.
okay.
Like it's not one of those shows.
What characters would you say were the most either annoying, or what characters did you hate or not like or find annoying?
So on some level, okay. So I would say based upon what I've seen from this season and just their contribution and selling me on their role,
Mhm.
just this season alone, I would say my favorite character would have to be Sax.
Oh no, no, we were asking what characters did you dislike the most?
Um,
But that's good. Sax,
I
you like
disliked
Sax.
something about the majority of the cast.
The cast. Okay.
I
S-
like the show. I like the
okay.
show as an ensemble, but I could find reason to critique
Okay. So last
most of
time
the
the
cast.
first name that came up was Zeke, and we
No,
kind of had
he's not the person I disliked the most. Obviously Jabari, but then Zeke.
okay. He was the first name that came up, but certainly Jabari. I think Jabari is.
I'm back.
Hey, so we're talking about power.
Actually, Mike,
Yeah.
now that I think about it, I can't recall his name off the top of my head,
Okay.
but Mary J. Blige's middle son, one, he's a great actor, and two, his
What a minute.
story, his progression
Mhm.
from episode one to the final episode is pretty great.
Okay. We're talking about power and what characters people liked and disliked. We've kind of jumped all over the
I'm
place. I
sorry.
wanted to talk with characters that folks did not like. Did you say Jabari?
Yeah, Jabari. But
Okay.
we can kind of put that on hold now that we got JayZ back.
Okay, but I mean,
No, I'm
are you a
sorry.
fan?
My
Are you a fan
phone
of the
is.
show?
Am
Are
I a
you a
fan of Trump?
no, no, no. Are you a fan of Power Book Two? Are you a fan? Do you watch the show? Not at all. Okay. All right.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. So we can pause that. That's fine. We'll get back into it. We'll just tease. We'll just have that in there as a
You
teaser.
guys can. I'll stay here. I'm on a good connection now. I'm
Okay.
solid. I'll stay here. If you guys want to talk about that,
Well, I
I'm
was
down.
really curious about getting into the conversation about socialized housing and seeing where Mike was going with that and where you guys
Yeah,
were going with that.
let's get into it. We only have 10 minutes anyway before we have to sign back on because these things only last for 40 minutes. So let's take the last 10 minutes to talk about it. So yeah, socialized housing is housing for all. All people deserve, um, a good place to live, uh, regardless of money. And we've
Agree.
commodified or commoditized housing, just like we have health and other things that we really should not.
And is this just a conversation that's taking place? Because it's the first time I heard of it. And is how we're going to subsidize it also a part of that conversation?
Can I also side note that question
Yes.
with
Yes.
is it do you feel it's more important than socialized health insurance?
Okay, so that's a good question. I feel that these are kind of trick questions that we should not be asking in a society like the US. I feel
Okay.
like it's like asking a mother, is it more important to house your child or to make sure they're not sick?
Right.
You would never ask a mother a question like that.
Right.
And certainly in a country where Jeff Bezos,
Mhm.
made more during the pandemic than like almost like half, I don't know, $500 million,
Yeah,
whatever he
no,
made
yeah, it's
during the
ridiculous.
pandemic is ridiculous. And
Yeah.
companies like Amazon, paid less last year than you did in
Right.
taxes. That's absolutely ridiculous. So there's
Right.
no way
Agreed.
that we should not be doing both, would be my answer to that
Agreed.
question.
So
For
my
sure.
question was, is because again, it's a new discussion for me. It's something I'm unfamiliar with. Is subsidizing it a part of this discussion?
A part of what the discussion we're having now?
No, just the discussion on socialized housing.
I don't know that it's a discussion. It's something I've been talking about for a few years now, and I've been saying now that even rednecks want Medicare for all, we should push the envelope and get folks ready to talk about these kind of issues now that we're open to them.
Mhm.
So I think only during, I heard AOC talk about it like a year or two ago. I was actually down in DC doing some organizing, and had one of the folks I was organizing saying he had a meeting coming up with her. I told him he should ask her about it. I don't know if he did. It would be cool if he did, because several months later, there was an article, I believe, in The Nation where she was talking about socialized housing and visiting government officials who are taking advantage of that housing, and why we should be doing it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, to answer your question, it's not a widespread conversation, and now is the time to make it one, especially when America is
Right.
primed for it due to the pandemic. So, yeah, we should be
Yeah,
fighting for it. Certainly, we certainly should be. I mean,
I see that.
imagine a place like New York City. Imagine the resources that we have, and imagine what we could be spending our dollars on if we didn't have to spend, you know, 50, 60, whatever, 70, 80% of our money on housing, even 40%, like whatever it is, it's a lot. It's ridiculous.
Mhm.
Imagine how much we could be pouring into expanding fast speed transportation, and just building
Right.
better housing and bridges, and just making society a lot better for people on many different levels, if we
Mhm.
weren't uh, throwing our monies to making corporations richer.
Mhm.
Right. And I know this conversation, I know on Ish's end,
It right there.
yeah, on Ish's end, we've all often had this conversation. What about the small landlords and stuff like that? But they don't represent a huge amount of the people that are,
Also,
yeah,
Wait, they don't represent what?
interject.
a huge amount of the
What's that?
people that are profiting off of the current system we live in.
Mm. If I could interject there, as well as the small landlords and the small businesses and the small restaurants that are angry at, say, Governor Cuomo. It's like your anger is so misguided. Like, I'm not like I I like Cuomo for what he's trying to do, but the fact that like restaurants and businesses are like just attacking him as opposed to asking where the fuck their money is like where their money should be coming from. Like your
Mhm.
anger is misguided. You should be asking the government that you've been paying taxes to where your help is, where your money is, where this and that is. Like it's all misguided
Right.
in my opinion.
Well,
Like
this is like the conversation we had earlier, where our society would rather have small business owners arguing over paying people a minimum wage, more than 7.50 or even $15 an hour, rather
yeah,
than wondering why billionaires and their companies aren't putting into the pot. Um,
exactly.
Wondering why our society. In our society,
Mhm. Yeah.
one income can no longer bring you a nice home,
Right.
right? A nice home with a picket fence and a vehicle and a college education. We were getting
Hmm.
this off of factory jobs back in the days. Like, why is it no longer
Right.
like that? But we take these things for
We've
granted.
all worked. We've all worked hard.
Yeah,
We all did this work. We all showed up on time. We all did what we were supposed to do. And we can't afford what they could afford.
right,
Like, we all can't have that. We all, like, yeah, exactly. Like, we can't own a house. We can't own a house unless, our boomer parents co-sign. We can't, buy an expensive car without a co-signer. We can't. It's just such a different mentality and such a different like world that we're living in. It's insane. Like, to have a college education 30 years ago was like $1,500 to $5,000,
oh yeah, even
which
less,
was an
even less,
attainable, even less.
even
But that's
free. Like,
attainable.
yeah,
That was attainable.
hmm
At this point, 100 to
Well, I venture to say longer than
$200,000.
30 years ago.
What's that?
I'd say longer than 30 years ago, but I see your point and I agree.
Well, if we're including
Yeah.
state colleges, certainly 30 years ago, you could get a great education on $1,500.
Mhm. If somebody told me when I was 17 years old that I had to have a master's to be able to afford the American dream, I would have maybe tried like something different. I would have maybe done something different. But at that point, nobody knew that anything less than a master's, and sometimes a master's, wasn't going to give you shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not fair. Like, it's like I saw an article the other day and I want to say it was like 294% or something like that. Something like 200, almost 300% increase on education from when my mother went to school and when my daughter went to school. Like, you're just continuing the poverty. You are just continually keeping people on the poverty level and then making sure that they're angry at each other. Like, that's the bottom line.
So I have some commentary about this particular discussion. So one, my thoughts are the problem